Welcome back to this series where we are building an exercise tracker on Free Code Camp. No green screen today, and you can see I've got the baby napping just behind me, so I'm going to try to talk a little more quietly than I normally do, and we'll see how far we can get before he wakes up. So let's just dive in. So we were here on the Free Code Camp site, and let's see, if I open up the curriculum and we go down to the back end and development API certificates, we can come down to here. So here's the exercise tracker. And it looks like I'd already forgot my solution link, but let's see, should be one of these, right? I'm gonna have to log into Heroku. Great, now that I'm logged into Heroku, I should be able to find that app and get the URL for it. So go over to our exercise tracker, open this up in a new tab. I'm just gonna copy this, drop it into our solution link. I'm gonna open the network tab over to the side just so we can see what's happening. But if I run this, basically where we left off yesterday is we do have some tests passing. We got 3 of them. And if you're jumping in this late, the way that we've been doing this is I cloned a repository, a boilerplate off Free Code Camp, which I'm going to open up right now. Okay. So the way that I've been kind of approaching this is by sort of implementing as little as I can in order to get the requirements, and then kind of allow the tests to drive the rest of the behavior. And I think just from what I was thinking about last video, I think we're going to try to get the Free Code Camp tests themselves to pass without using a database for this thing. I think I can do it. So eventually, I think we will do a database just for practice and to make this more interesting. But let's see. So I left off yesterday. We got this unit test. Create user tests our create user function, and just expects that it returns this result, which we're hard coding for now, which obviously is not going to work long term. But I'm just going to let the test kind of guide me to creating a stronger implementation. We also have this integration test or HTTP test that's using this plugin called Super Test, and that's just making a request into our application at API users. And then sending in a username and then expecting that the body on that response is equal to basically the username that we send in along with an ID that we expect. And again, this test isn't going to be robust long term, but I'm just going to let the other tests force me to have to implement a better implementation of these requirements. So why don't we switch on over to Free Code Camp, and we'll go to the next failing test. So we can make a get request API users to get a list of all users. So this is where kind of yesterday my thought was we could just add another unit test for fetching a user, and maybe this is a function. Obviously, this could be a service, like a class, but I think I'm just trying to keep this as simple as I can out of the gate. And as things necessitate refactoring or the functionality gets complicated enough, we can change how this is pieced together. But I'm going to follow the pattern that we did last time, and basically, instead of starting with the endpoint, I'm actually just going to start with the function that's going to do the work, which might eventually go into a module, like maybe some user module that handles creating and fetching users for us. But for now, it's just going to be a function that's going to sit here. But instead of writing the function first, I'm actually going to start with a test. So let's go to unit, create new file, and I'll just say get user.spec.js. And then we'll make our describe block, and we'll say get user. Is this one user or many users actually? So it's users. So let me rename this actually. This is going to be get users. And if I go over to our test file here, I'm going to say get users. And whoops, it can return a list of users. And existing would be key here. Existing users. So we don't want to return non-existing users. So basically, my thought process here is we need to seed some state into the application before we can fetch users, because we want to see if there's two users that two users come back. And yeah, there's a lot of different ways that you could do this, and especially once we actually have a database, it depends largely on how pure you want your unit tests. Do you want to be seeding data directly into the database, or do you want some sort of layer in between? We'll see as we get that far what path we decide to take, but let's start with our arrange, act, and assert. So the arrangement is going to be setting up a couple of users, and I think one way that we could do this is maybe do given equals an array of users. So we could do we do Jim and we can do Gail. And what I'm thinking I'm okay with doing for now, like usually I try not to use the API itself to like seed data into my application, but I think as of now, while this app is still small, and we don't have a ton of architecture in place, I think this is fine. So I'm just going to do, and also this can be a const actually, because I'm not going to need to redefine given. So what do I want? I want to do, I don't even know if I need to store these, do I? Yeah, let's do that. Let's go user 1 and user 2. And this is going to equal await. And since I'm using await, I'm actually going to need to go async. And as you can see, like this isn't really a unit test. Like I'm going to be, actually, this is a bit of a conundrum because I do kind of want this to be a unit test. I don't want to pull in super test just to make an HTTP call into the app. Maybe I do need a way to create users, because yeah, what was I doing over here? I was seeding it by calling into the API. I guess I could seed it just by calling this create user function directly though, right? What was the reason for calling the API over here instead of just calling create user? I can't actually remember. I think, yeah, why did I do this here in the first place? Couldn't have I just returns a new user response. Oh wait, we're might be thinking of another test, because this is exactly what I want. I'm forgetting what we did yesterday. Create users, results. You know what I might be thinking of is we started to implement a test for like fetching existing users, but then we ended up not doing that, right? I think that's what I'm thinking of. So this could just be, yeah, this can just be create user times 2. So as I guess I don't need to spread this then. Yeah, this is just gonna be user 1 create user, and we'll just say given at 0, and then we can say user 2 will be given at 1. Okay. And then our action is going to be, it's going to be a call to get users, which it doesn't need any arguments. I also want to set up our expectations. So what do we expect this to be? We should probably check the actual example here. I think, let's see, let's go to the example app. Do they have an example of getting users? They have post users. Yeah, let's see what this endpoint here does. It's just an array of, oh, and there's a version actually too. Interesting. Is there a test that says to do that? That's weird. I don't actually see anywhere in the description where it says to do that, this __ v, although maybe this is actually just inherent behavior of Mongo, which I don't remember learning about while we were doing the backend courses, but yeah, we could probably just follow this structure for now, and then when we switch over to Mongo eventually later in the future, we can figure out what this actually is. I'm assuming it's to version your model. Yeah. So we expect, we expect that shape. So let's go over here. We're gonna expect the username. Well, I guess what would be like ID. And if at this point we might want to start asserting that the IDs actually increment, but until we do something with an ID, we technically don't have to. So I'm still just gonna wait until the tests sort of force me, or rather the functionality that we want out of this thing force me to do it, just for the sake of practice. So we'll do username, will be, oh, you know what, actually, we can go user1 ._ID. And then this is just kind of, it'll work regardless of how we implement create user, because we'll always just be asserting that whatever create user comes back, this is sort of the expectation from the get users API. And then username will be given, we can just say user1.username, why not? And then we're gonna want this __ v thing, and we'll just say 0. And this one will be, instead of user1, whoops. Ooh, I just closed everything. Instead of user1, it'll be user2. And then we want to assert, so we want to expect that result will equal our expected. Cool, and this is definitely going to fail. So let's see what happens. Let's see what the failure actually is. And that's actually not the failure I was expecting, and it's just because I forgot to bring in create user. Oops. So that will be .. We want, where is it? Come on, help me out, VS Code. Oh, there we go. We want that. So the error I expect is actually this won't exist. So we'll run it just to verify that that's the error. Just make sure we got the rest of our test correct. It says create user is not a function. This is why we run our test before we move forward. So this is just me importing it incorrectly and not destructuring. So we'll run it again. I want to see that get user doesn't exist. Cool, or is not defined, or whatever. So we're gonna go define that, and for now we're just gonna drop it in the server.js file, which eventually we will want to clean up. So get users is just going to cool function. And this is where now we're going to have to allow our tests for create user that are currently green and basically refactor this so that users actually get stored somewhere. Because get users needs to pull users from somewhere, and currently doesn't have anywhere because we're just kind of faking it up here. So yeah, why don't I put jest in watch mode, so I can just have all the tests running. Obviously this one's going to keep failing for now, and what I can do just to avoid that noise is I can just skip this test here, just so that we can see just the green here. So I just want to see that 2 are passing, and as I refactor this create user, I kind of want to make sure that the tests stay green. And basically what I want to do is just for now we'll just say const users equals an empty array. And what we can do here is when we create a user, we could go users.push. I could do whatever whatever this is. And again, we're not going to worry about generating an ID yet. And we could just return users at the last index, which would be length -1. And that should keep our other tests still green. But every time we create a user, and obviously we're going to drive out like proper validation and all sorts of other things, but our tests are green. And now get users, if I go maybe just only this, just so we can dial in and focus on just these failures. Do I have to? So get users is not a function. So that would be the first thing, is actually exporting that. If we go down to our modules, exports, we can add it here. And then we go over into our get user spec. And we're just gonna want to go get users is now an import. So it should be a new list, which is, or sorry, a new error, which is actually just expect is not a function. So that's because I accidentally overwrote it right here, because I meant to call this expected. And let's see. So now we're getting a real failure, or at least a meaningful one, where we're expecting this shape of data, and we are not getting what we expect back. So let's fix that. Let me go over to server.js, and we're going to go to that get users. And basically, we should be able to just return users, only there will be one issue. So the way that the API and free code camp works on the example project is when you create a user, you only get this back. But actually what's obviously stored somewhere is something with this version thing. So really, I want to actually capture that V as well, but this is going to break other tests. So what I can do to fix that is let's actually back up a bit. So let me not do an only here for one. So we have some failures, and I kind of want to keep things green as I make changes. So one way to do this is to actually just revert that change quick. And so we still have our original failure, right? Like get users is still failing, but I don't want existing tests to fail. So instead of pushing this first, what I could do is return users. And I could actually just do what I could do is I could store this in, let's just say a temporary. So I could go const user equals that. And when we return, let's maybe just go username, maybe user dot username, and then we can do ID. It's going to be user dot ID like that. So now these tests are still passing with that refactor, the original 2, but now I should actually be able to add in that version here. And the tests should still be green, and the nice thing is that it actually also made the test for get users pass, which I think is pretty neat. Okay, so I think what we can do now is wire this up to an actual route, and then hopefully deploy this to free code camp, and we should see that we have more tests passing. But let's see, what did we do in here? We updated, what is this? We renamed this. What happened here? You know, I'm really not sure what Git thinks I did here. Did I move it? Did I rename it? Create users. Oh, you know what? I renamed the wrong file. That's what happened. Okay. But I think I also made changes in this file too, didn't I? Or no? I don't think I did. Create users. Let me discard that. Yeah, let's discard this. And then I'll discard that. So I still have all my tests passing. And then the one that I meant to rename was actually this one. Get users. Okay, so let me check this again. All right, this is looking more like what I want to see. Cool, so I'll just say add get user function. And we can move on to the next test, which is going to be our integration test. I'm just going to close a couple of these. We don't need that one open, don't need that, and we don't need that. So let's go to our integration tab here. I'm going to make a new file, and we'll just call it get users.spec.js. It looks like I pluralized this file name too. This is technically just post user, not... Oh no, I guess the endpoint is called users with a post. So you know what? I'm going to keep that just because that's the name of the actual route. So we'll leave that. Let's go over to get user. Actually, I'm going to copy... let's see... Just to get things going, I'm going to kind of copy about that much of that file. So we'll just say returns a user's response. This is going to be get users instead of post users. And okay, so now let's see, why is this mad at me? Oh, because I need to close the describe block still. That's why that's mad at me. Okay, so what do I want to do here? I got my arrange, act, and assert steps. For the arrange, we're gonna do given. This will be just a list of names. We'll just say 2 in this case. We're also going to want to seed some users. And actually, now that we have a place where we store user data, we could do... I want to go here. So I could make this a little more testable by giving a way to actually seed users, but maybe I just stick to using this for now. I'm gonna do that. So we'll go const user 1. Oh, I might have to cut this video short. Hang on. Maybe not. Maybe not. All right, let's keep going. So I want to create a user. And because I tab completed that, VS Code actually just automatically imported that for me this time. So we're going to create a user, and we're going to go given at 0. And we'll do another one, user 2, and we'll just say create user given at 1. And then what we expect is going to be an array of objects where we're going to have username is going to be, this is also a great way to do snapshot testing too, actually. And I think just for fun, let's do some snapshot testing. So if you haven't heard, I've never actually done snapshot testing in Node myself, but basically the concept is you record a response from your application, and you as a human look at it and verify that it's the correct response. And then you save it, and now your test remembers that that response is there, and it will, every time it runs a test, it's gonna read that response. Like, it's gonna look up the snapshot, which is kind of like a picture of your response. It's gonna compare it with the response that came back in the test. If they're the same, it's green. If they're not, then basically you have to go look at it and see if it's wrong for the right reason, I guess. So there's always that manual verification step with snapshot tests. Some people think they're useless, apparently, if you look at this. I don't think that's true. So snapshot tests, we'll just say, ooh, does just have them built in, actually? I wonder. Oh. Okay. I actually haven't used snapshot testing in Jest, I don't think. If I did, I don't remember. Let's see here. So we go to match snapshot. Oh, wow. Okay. TIL. Okay, so then technically we don't really actually have to save these users in that case, because we're just gonna snapshot this. So we're gonna go const response is gonna equal request with our app. Okay, and then we're gonna do a dot post to /API/users, or not a post. This is a get. Okay, and then we'll do send, which is gonna return a response, and then I'm gonna do expect response to match. Let me see the docs here. To match snapshot. And of course, this also has to be awaited because this is asynchronous now. Spelled properly, preferably. So we're awaiting our request here, response, and then I'm just gonna say dot body, because that's really the thing I'm most interested in, actually. So if I run this test, first of all, it's already running and it's saying the snapshot failed, which is expected because we don't have a snapshot yet. So what I have to do is I have to run, there's a command update snapshots that I noticed on the previous page when we were Googling this, but it's also here. So update -- update snapshot. So yarn just -- update snapshot or snapshots, snapshot singular. Okay. They've got it like camel cased here, but maybe that's an outdated oh wait, update. Oh, I just spelled it wrong. Never mind. Here, let me copy that, and I'll replace it with the correctly spelled version of that. So that fired off a snapshot, and the way that these libraries usually work, They're basically all the same, doesn't matter what language or library you're using. So we get the snapshot directory now. And yeah, I mean, basically, this is not what I expect to see, actually. So what we should be doing is deleting that. And I think if I run, so I should actually see that the response doesn't match what I expect, I hope. Oh no, it just wrote the snapshot again. So now I have to figure out how to delete a snapshot properly. So we can update failing snapshots. What's an inline snapshot? Oh, it'll just update your test file. That's kind of interesting. I kind of like them to just be external myself, but we might experiment with that. Yeah, I mean, right now, basically, as long as it's green, they technically know it's wrong. So I'm not going to worry too much about resetting the state there, but if the snapshot passes, this is not returning what I expect it to return. And I'm surprised that I didn't get a response that I expect, actually. Oh, no, I'm not. I'm not surprised. I guess I'm surprised about what the snapshot looks like, because I expected a 404, but since I'm doing response body, I didn't catch that. Maybe I should just snapshot the whole response then. So this should fail now. Here we go. So yeah, the only issue is that you don't see what the actual payload coming back is, but we do see that the status is 404. So yeah, I'm not sure. I think what we probably want realistically for the snapshot is we do want to do body, but we want first to assert that we get a response.status to be 200. Okay, so then there's kind of this preliminary expectation that we actually get a 200 status and not something like a 404. So this is a much more clear error, which just means we haven't set up our route yet. So let me go down to where we have our post users route. I'm just gonna add another one here, app.get. We'll do /API/users, and that's gonna take a callback function with a request response. And then we're gonna return, let's see, response.status, we'll do 200, and then I can do JSON, and I can do the result of calling get users. And so this should fail, not because of the status code being wrong, but because the snapshot failed. And basically now what I can do is I can go, see, I'm not sure. Normally you get a chance to review what the new snapshot looks like, and you compare it to your response. So that's how you're supposed to, that's how these usually work. How does jest work? How do I know? Let's go up to the top here. It says it's supposed to print this. It's not really printing that in my case. I wonder if maybe it's just because I'm in watch mode, so I'm getting a slightly different... Oh no, here it is. I just had to scroll up higher. Okay, I gotcha. So this is what we expected, was this empty object, and what actually came back was an array with not empty objects. And this is what we expected. in this case, so I'm going to accept this. So I think I can just type U, and it updates it. Sweet. You can see that here, snapshots, one was updated. And now if I go to our snapshot file here, it's been updated. So as long as we don't do anything that changes the shape of that response, this test will always pass. And if we do, it'll fail, which is good because it'll let us know we broke something. And cool, so where are we at with this video? We're at just past 30-ish minutes, so I think we're going to commit, and hopefully just in time, because I think my baby boy is about to wake up from his nap. So let's get this committed. We wired the get users route, and I'm gonna push this up to Heroku. And if you want to know how I got that set up, just go ahead, watch the last video. It's in the first it's a long video, I apologize, but it's in the first like 10 minutes of the video. We get Heroku set up with the CLI. And yeah, basically the way I have this set up is I can just push to Heroku. This is going to trigger a deployment, well, a build first and then a deployment. And this actually goes surprisingly fast. I mean, not surprisingly fast because there's not a whole lot going on in this app build wise. So once this does the npm install and everything, we should see that it's successful. Compressing usually takes only about a second once you see this line. So there we go. It's actually live, and I can switch over into here. I can grab this URL, and if I were to hit /API users manually with a get method, we should see an empty array. That's just because we haven't created any yet. Technically, if I were to create some guy and submit this, you see we have something actually working here. IDs 123, which doesn't make a ton of sense. And if I hit users as a get this time, that actually comes back. I could keep doing more test users here. And if I hit, every time I hit that endpoint with a get, so it is kind of working. It looks like it's working. But yeah, let's run this. You know, we're kind of faking it, obviously, but let's run this in FreeCodeCamp and see how many tests we get to pass now. I think we should be at 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, 5, 6. Oh, wow, we got 6 because these ones are also testing the get. Awesome, that's great. So yeah, all right. In the next video, we're just gonna keep working through, you know, one feature at a time until, I mean, we're gonna get all these green check marks, and it's not gonna be the most impressive app in the world. So once we kind of get there, then we're gonna think about like more features, or like how do we make it more real, so that you know, things aren't running in memory. So if, you know, because this is just an array, if I were to redeploy my application, all my users are gone, and obviously you wouldn't want that in a real exercise tracker. So yeah, all of that stuff will eventually come into play, but for now I think this is pretty cool. We're about halfway done, maybe a third of the way done the challenge. But yeah, thanks for watching. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe if you want to see more of these. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching. Bye.